Ellen White Reconsidered, a series of presentations for people with questions about Ellen White and her writings. Today's topic is A Sensible Woman. Hello, this is a second part to what I was sharing in the last video. And this one's going to be shorter because I'm only going to call attention to some of the words that are overlooked in each of the quotations. And I'm not going to go through all of the quotations. They get a little repetitive. And I think that you'll get the idea from the first ones that I have to show. All right, let's look at some of these quotations. This one, he has underlined the part about tempting people. But if you look at the broader statement, she doesn't completely outlaw cake, but she says it's not the best food to put on the table. And he's called it destroys the digestive organs, but that's not the word that she used. She said disorder. And that is that it causes some distress. And then again, when she talks about flesh, notice she says the more largely flesh composes the diet. So she's not even outlawing, just eliminating it entirely. All right, let's look at the next one. All right, in this one, she's advocating use simple, wholesome food. But she's talking about rich pastries and cakes and desserts and other dishes prepared to tempt the appetite. Not all desserts, but the rich pastries, cakes, desserts, and other dishes. Then she also advocates for fewer kinds of food at one meal. Makes it easier for your stomach to digest when it doesn't have so many different kinds. And she says, eat with thanksgiving. All right. In this one, I don't know what he had to disagree with. She's not even outlawing milk and eggs, and she says it has its place. But she talks about that it's a waste of money for tea, coffee, flesh meats. You can really save a lot of money if you don't use these things, as a matter of fact. And because most of the diseases that we have are lifestyle diseases, if we would dial back these things in our lives and the amount of flesh foods that people eat, they would have less cancer, less heart disease, a number of things, particularly if the rest of your life is in balance and you get physical exercise and water and rest, those things too. All right, notice the emphasis in this one. Far too much sugar. She's not saying there can be no use of sugar. And she says the free use of milk and sugar taken together. So it's not all, it's not an absolute. She's a sensible woman. All right, notice here, he makes a big deal about having cooked gems and pudding for dinner. But you know, pudding doesn't have to be rich in sugar. It can be dialed back so that it's tasty, but not rich in milk and sugar and all the added fats and sugars. All right, here he was complaining about that they were fishing and hunting, but notice she's talking about these were miners where they were camping. She's not talking about her followers at all. And so I don't know what his big deal is. They had some raspberry pies. Well, that seemed like a good thing to eat. And here we have in this one, he makes bread, just excellent pies, buns, and cooks vegetables. That's pretty simple food. Here's another one talking about raspberries, potatoes, green peas, rice pudding. These are not rich foods. Okay, take a look at this. Malted nuts for soup, zwieback. That's bread that's been baked twice, so it's kind of dry and crunchy. Cream sticks, oranges, bananas, applesauce, olives, nuts, jelly turnovers, boiled eggs, and bread. What kind of an extremist would consider this a rich diet? All right, and then this one, and this is from the granddaughter, and she said that they did use some jam, but eat it moderately, she said. Exactly, that's the point. And down here, talking about it was a simple dessert, not overly sweet. exactly what she was talking about. Only the extremist would think that you can't have a little sugar. So that's pretty quick, and I think it's enough to illustrate that Ellen White was a sensible woman, and she was not an extremist. And even though she talked about some of the disadvantages of things, she could see the value of them depending on the diet that one has. But those that are stuck on certain things and got to have their sugar, well, they pay for it. I have a good friend that was in one of our churches who said, I decided to give it a try. And I gave up having all the sweets that I was eating. I really felt better. And I didn't miss them after a while. You can redevelop your taste buds so that simple things taste good. And you can enjoy those simple things. Again, be smart. Take care.
To keep up with the latest in this series, be sure to subscribe to this channel.